Obina sat up quickly, his heart racing with excitement, but then doubt crept in. Like a cold wind through a crack in the wall, how could he make the mask return what it had taken? And if it was possible, what would he have to do? What price would he have to pay? These questions swirled in Obina's mind like leaves caught in a whirlwind. He knew that going back to the shrine would be dangerous. The memory of what happened last time made his hands shake and his stomach feel tight with fear. But as he looked around his small, dark room, Obina realized he had no other choice. He couldn't keep living like this, hiding from everyone, ashamed and afraid. As the night slowly turned to day, Obina made up his mind. He would go back to the shrine as soon as the sun rose. Whatever happened, there couldn't be worse than the life he was living now. Little did Obina know that his decision would set in motion a chain of events that would not only change his life, but the fate of his entire village. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky a pale blue, Obina quietly got up from his mat. He put on his best wrapper, a piece of cloth his mother had given him for special occasions. He wanted to look his best, to show respect to whatever powers lived in the old shrine. Obina crept out of his family's compound, careful not to wake anyone. The packed earth was cool under his bare feet, still damp with morning dew. The village was quiet and peaceful. Obina could hear the soft cooing of doves in the nearby trees and the distant crow of a rooster welcoming the new day. As he walked towards the edge of the village where the old shrine stood, Obina's heart began to beat faster. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if his feet were sinking into the ground. The shrine looked different in the early morning light. Its mud walls cast long, dark shadows that seemed to reach out like fingers trying to grab him. Obina stopped a few steps away from the shrine's door. He could feel sweat on his forehead and under his arms, even though the morning air was still cool. For a moment, he thought about turning back. He could run home, crawl back onto his mat, and pretend he had never left. But then Obina thought about his family, about Adana, about all the people in the village who would now look at him with pity or disgust. He couldn't keep living like that. He had to try to fix what had happened, no matter how scared he felt. "I have to do this," Obina whispered to himself, trying to sound braver than he felt. His voice sounded small and shaky in the quiet morning air. "I have to make things right. I have to be a man again." Obina took a deep breath and reached out his hand. It was trembling so much that he had trouble grasping the rough wooden handle of the door. The door creaked loudly as he pushed it open, the sound seeming to echo across the whole village. As Obina stepped into the dark shrine, he had no idea that this moment would change everything. He didn't know that what he was about to do would start a chain of events that would affect not just his own life, but the lives of everyone in his village. Inside the shrine, it was even darker than Obina remembered. The air felt thick and heavy, like breathing in dust. As his eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, he could make out the shape of the mask in the center of the room. It stood there, silent and still, just as it had been before, but to Obina it seemed to loom larger, its presence filling the entire shrine. Obina's legs felt weak, and for a moment he thought he might fall. But he forced himself to stand straight and tall. He was here for a reason, and he wouldn't leave until he had tried everything he could think of to break the curse. As he took a step towards the mask, Obina felt a strange tingling sensation all over his body. It was as if the air in the shrine was charged with some kind of energy he couldn't see or understand. Obina didn't know it yet, but his adventure was just beginning. The curse of the mask was far from over, and the path ahead of him would be filled with challenges he could never have imagined. Ancient spirits, forgotten magic, and the very fabric of his world were about to collide in ways that would test not just his courage, but his very identity as a man. As Obina reached out to touch the mask once more, the air in the shrine seemed to thicken. The symbols on the mask began to glow with an eerie light, and somewhere in the depths of the spiritual realm, ancient forces stirred. Awakening to the presence of a mortal who dared to challenge their Obina stood in front of the mask, his hand hovering over it. The air was thick and suffocating, filled with an energy that seemed to buzz against his skin. The strange symbols carved into the mask glowed faintly.
Whatever happened next? There was no turning back now. Eager to find out what happened next in this story. Comment continue below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest releases. We truly appreciate your love and support so far. Let's keep the fire burning.